Hey guys, Stuart's in a good mood. Gentleman Randy's up early. Bill's around. Um, I'm struggling a bit with this YouTube thing at the moment. Could someone report back at the end of the stream and ask and find out? Let me know if they see any ads on my live stream. Would really appreciate that. If you would, that'd be fantastic. I've had some issues with monetization in the last few weeks. So if someone would report back, I'm not sure whether it's actually happening. Apologies if it is, but it's nice if it is because it pays a little bit towards things. Anyway. Peter never sees ads on the streams. He's probably got an ad blocker. Stuart never sees any of them. It doesn't ask me. It's got some weird things happening with it. Okay. Mark Osborne, good day. Don't know. If anyone sees one, that's awesome. I've got premium, so I don't tend to see ads anyway. But there we go. We're all good. Now, here we are at the end of a fairly busy David, g'day. Fairly busy weekend we've had. I haven't had internet for the week, or for a few days anyway, so that's why there was no live stream last night with the CAD program, and I'm sorry about that, guys. There'll be one next week, I hope. Get through that if I make it back alive. Working weekend at Shannondale this weekend, and as such had to get this ready to go back on, which is the water pump off the Fowler. It's not too terrible really at the moment. In fact, we've made some progress and it's actually looking pretty good. Don't know if I like the paint job very much, but anyway. This is back together. We've got valves and valve seats in here. I closed it up last night because we're in a bit of a time stall on this, so I didn't leave it apart to show you. But we've got the seats in the bottom and then the valves in top floating. If we block this one off and blow down here, we can actually hear this one feather. Pop, 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 pop. And the same deal, if you blow up through the bottom, you can hear it feather. So I'm pretty pleased with that. They've got a bit of lap and stuff. That's fair, Bill. That's fair. Anyway, don't know what's happening with that. Got this sort of temporary arrangement here with this tap. This isn't the original tap. It's a primer tap. I put it on in what I think is about the right spot so you can actually get to it. Happens if your pump's not priming or if it's leaking past the valves, you can open this and rather than work against the pressure, it's actually, you can tell whether it's getting water halfway anyway. But before this elbow was on here, it used to squirt straight up in your face if you were steering the roller. So, put elbow on it so it shoots out there. Fix that. It'll do for a bit. We'd really like the proper right angle tap for this, but one day. It's on the list. These screws, this one and this one. This one's original, I think. This one's new because I made it. they go through the hole in the side of the valve, there like that, in the side of the valve seat, and that holds it in place. So this distance here to here is quite critical, but we seem to have got it all right. See this how bell mouth this is here? The seats, don't know if you can see that, can you? I think you can probably. That's how much the seat's compressed. And when you put one of these valves in it, which looks like this, the new ones look like this too, without as many dents and dings and ridges and things in them. You've got a fair bit of rock here. So that's why they're not sealing. Anyway, got new ones of them in bronze and new ones of them in bronze. This has got a piece sticking down through it, which limits the lift. If anyone's really interested, this is the pump that puts the water into the boiler, the mechanical pump. If we turn this light so you can probably actually almost see in here, I don't know if you can. Put something in there that we can, I don't know, this will do. That's about how much lift it's got. It's got a limiter that sits in the middle of the valve, down in that recess, at the round end that goes down in there, and it's got about that much lift. Now we got Bill started, we'll be right for the rest of the stream. So this one's going, pretty happy with that. So this is ready to go back on. If I can remember to take all the bits, it's sort of a little bit like that. Got things to do, and as always there's a car load of bits and pieces to take with you. If Dan's watching, and he probably isn't, I put the seats in with this, which is $44 of crazy expensive stuff. The lock seal, and I think it's pretty good because I got one in the second time around. I had them all like that. My mate John Pettit gave me a pretty good hand with setting this up and putting it together and getting everything fitted. So it's not all entirely me. So drop this one in, which is the one without a bottom in it. This chamber goes into this one, see? Into the top of this one. So what happens is that when the piston, which is on this arm here, pulls out, it sucks water in through this valve. It can't suck water in through this one because this pulls it closed. But it sucks water in through this one from the tank and fills up the chamber. And then when it comes back, it can't push water back out this one, so it pushes it out this one, right, into another chamber, into the top here. Now, if this tap here is shut like it is now, right, that pumps straight out back here into the boiler, up the pipe into the boiler. If this tap's open, and this has all been repacked too, thanks to Dan, who spent quite a lot of time on it, getting it right, because packing's a mongrel job, then this water here can return straight back down into the tank. So it's not actually pumping in the boiler, it's just pumping up and down. So it pumps continuously while the engine's running. But depending on whether this tap's shut or not is whether it pumps in the boiler or not. So that's the regulation. That's how that works. So that's all ready to go back together. We've got like proper gaskets all ready to go on. Heap of them. We've got new bolts for here. I believe that there's 4 studs sticking out on this one. Maybe there's a bolt and 3 studs. I don't know. We've got enough bits there. Fridge. Dan's here. He packed this valve. That's what he did. There was a very good job. There's a lot of work in that. So we've got nuts cleaned up for that. Go back on. When it's all back together, it'll get another coat of paint probably. We've got 4 bolts for the bottom and 2 bolts for here. And we've got gaskets. So this is all ready to go back together. That's sorted. Bit of a job. It's not coming apart. I think the valve's still pretty good. It's top heavy rotten thing, so we've got the tape measure under one side, otherwise it falls over. Very nicely. But anyway, there you are. Job's done. Fixed. That was a bit of a job getting those seats and things all done. No, different kind of packing. Well, maybe the two are related. Maybe that's why you're so good at it. Anyway, thanks for that. This is a special spanner because once you get this one in, this one's right through. So this will knock out from the bottom without too much trouble if we've got to get this one out. This one here is in a blind hole with a chamber through to the side. This is the special spanner. This one. William Henry, good morning. Which fits an 8mm socket. It fits an 8mm nut. And we can poke that in through there, inside, with an 8mm nut on it. And we can get a 8mm bolt and a washer down through the top, and we can lift this one, pull that one out if we ever need to. Because with this is what I put it together with. Anyway, too late. Can't anything to it. It's only a cold water pump. That'll be fine. It's good shit, but I don't think it's coming apart. So they're in place. These bolts all slid in nicely. I'll put a little bit on the bolt to stop them leaking around there too on each side. I don't think they're going to leak anyway. So that's sorted. Pump's ready to go back on. Sexy valve and a new elbow to stop you getting wet. Just a matter of sitting it in place and fitting it all up. And it feels like there's another day's work putting it in place and fitting it up, but we've got to get the roller in steam before lunch, so we'll see how we go with that. We get an early start, we might get a bit done. Ain't cheap, Dan. $44 for a tube of that at Reese. Wasn't really impressed with that. Also, $8 for 6 rolls of white Teflon tape. That wasn't so bad. We can live with that. It's always useful to have it. Steam engines tend to get everyone wet in close proximity. It's the nature of steam engines. It's why we have them. But at this point, the less cold water up the front of your t-shirt, the better. That's the way I always feel about things. So this is actually the puller system for the valve if you've got to get it out again. A special Fowler tool. And the second special fowler tool is this one. You need this one as well. So there we go. That's for getting the valve out. Won't quite chuck that away yet. That's done. Bit impressed with that. All back together. Looking good. Did a bit of a job on this. Well, not even really. It was a bit half-assed actually, because I was out at the mill and I thought I'll do it, but it really wasn't all that particularly helpful because I measured the drill screws wrong and stuff. But I did drill 4 holes in this, to change the subject, in this guard for the launch. Now I haven't decided whether I'm going to mill this piece out, which I probably will, I don't know, or whether I unbolt the frame off that and cut the side off the frame and give it a coat of paint while I've got it apart and put it back together. That's the logical and smart thing to do. That's what would be really nice. And if you pulled it all apart and refinished the top and everything, you'd end up with a nice machine again. It needs it. It's 10 years on. But it's a bit of work. TMB, g'day. So, don't know if that's what I'm going to do or not. I've got to drill a hole in the steel anyway, if we do it that way. Don't really have a plan. The responsible and smart and hard-working part of me says, it's all over the place here, right? This has got a lot of bronze dust all over it. Says that I should pull this grey frame off and slice the side off here nicely, which would do the same job and would be a little bit neater and nicer. What that means is pulling that frame off, which is quite a big job. This needs some work too. I'd like to pull this down and rebuild this and probably put a keyway in for this. We've got no light, sorry. Put a keyway in for this pulley and a few other little jobs as well that need doing. So if we pulled this off and painted it, and pulled this off and painted it and fixed that, and then we'd probably feel like pulling the lathe off and painting that and pulling the drip tray off and then painting the base, and you end up making it into a very big job. So the other thing we could do is machine that out there 5mm deep or whatever, so that when that goes in there it fits nicely over that bit of steel and that does the job. And that might be what gets done, to be honest. We'll see. Seems a pity to have to do all that. So that's sort of it. I'd like to fix it properly, but I don't know if I've got time. I might have time. Get this roller back in steam and some jobs done. Maybe we'll have time. This is starting to look a bit rubbed and dirty, the lathe, right? Coat of paint on it would be very nice and a few maintenance jobs. But, we'll see. I'd have to put a keyway up there in that shaft because that's driving me crazy. That pulley keeps coming loose. Be nice to have a wood rough key in it at least. And then the gear change gear needs all setting up. If we did that, and if we're going to do that, we might as well have it all nice and clean before we start. Anyway, don't know. But that's beside the point. That's something that I did make a little bit of progress on, although not very much. I was going to show Dan this, so everyone else might have to. This isn't mine, this particular set. I was set on order and it's coming. It's fairly expensive. This is Time Saver's test kit, which is very nice. ws2coating.com if you want to order it. Microservice Corporation. It's Time Saver products. This is a very nice abrasive with two different grades. It's got the green tins, hard metal lapping compound for lapping cast iron, steel and hard bronze with the green label. And it's got the soft metal lapping compound for lapping babbitt, brass, bronze and aluminium in a yellow container. So borrowed this from my mate John, and I take it back to him. And hopefully mine will turn up. It's got to come from America, and that eats against the grain a bit with buying stuff out of the States, getting more expensive and more expensive and more expensive and more expensive and more expensive things. But this is a very good product. Comes in coarse, medium, fine and very fine. I've lapped these in coarse. I think that's probably good enough. They've got probably a 1.6 to 2 mil line around them, something like that, around the valves. So I think that they're going to be really good. Like I said, if you block this one up so there's no air in the chair, you can't move in this chamber, and you blow down this valve with it open, you can hear this valve go when it lifts. And same deal if you turn it over and you blow in this one, or hold it up and blow in this one. This one does the same thing. So pretty happy with it. So good product. If you want lapping stuff that's decent. There's a couple of good things about this. It's not a diamond product, and it's not a carb like a. It's not a stone product. It breaks down with use. So if you lap this up and give it a bit of wash out, anything that's going to be left in there is not going to cause grief down the track. It's just going to wash out, or it's going to break down, or it's not going to do any harm, which is really good with that. It's the best. That's one of the big sales pitches on this particular product. So I like it because of that. I've ordered some because I've got to do cylinder and piston for little petrol engine and stuff. And I thought it would be here before I got this done, which is sort of a bit why I've been dragging my feet. And arrived. Also ordered boring bars and mini boring bars out of China for doing the insides of these faces. This face here. They didn't come till today either, so that's not helpful. Anyway, we got it done despite of that. I'll take that back to John at some point. So that's kind of what's happening in the shop. We had no internet since Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, no internet, which is a bit of a nuisance since they're the days I'm home, and I had all sorts of ideas. I was going to run this printer while I was doing other stuff and get some truck parts made. Who wants to see progress on the truck? Probably no one. There you go, I'm lonely and I've got no friends with that. This is where we are, right? Tea and biscuits, we get into that, but yes, please, you should do that yourself. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to go with that first. Tea and biscuits have finished a kit car, club car, that looks like it was quite a big job. And more miraculously, he's taken video all the way through the build, and he's kept it, and he's managed to order it in some sort of timeline sequence to make some videos, which is pretty amazing, really. I don't know if anyone else thinks like that, but that's more work than really you give people credit for. So the first video's out, and it was quite a good video. And it's looking all right. So you should go and check that out. Absolutely. There's one from Bill with a magic blind and some cutting mat problems and so forth and so on. There's a very good video. You've probably seen that. I think that was before last week. I think it's about 4 years, Dan, since the last one, if you're really counting. It's at least 2. So did we decide what was wrong with the internet? No. The outage said a tropical cyclone Alfred, but that was a fortnight ago, and it's only just gone out. So I'm not really believing that. I think maybe someone dug a hole in the wrong spot, or pushed a pole over, or a pole fell over, or something. I don't know. But we've had a lot of rain. So anyway. Anyway, so I've got a few little jobs done on this. Not a lot, right? I've got the fuel tank sort of looking like a fuel tank. It's got crosses in each end in the right spot. It hasn't got a fuel gauge on it yet, which it's got to have. That's where the fuel gauge was, on the end of the tank. And it hasn't got a sediment bowl in it yet, or a sediment trap. Somebody tripped over the internet cord, Dan, is about what happened. So it hasn't got any shiny paint on it either, because we've got to put those bits on first. So that's one thing we did. Wheels are all on. Right? I'll work out the steering and stuff, but the steering still works, which is good. Back wheels are on. Drilled and tapped that bit of brass and put screws in it. So we've got actual real wheels on a brass axle. Only other real little jobs I did. We've got top radiator pipe. No, I fixed another wheel to make it look like the lost wheel, so I haven't found it yet. Top radiator pipe. If we have a look under here, we've got the bottom radiator pipe also on. And we've got the exhaust pipe. So they're the jobs I did this weekend. That's all I've done. That's it. That's the roundup on the truck. That's about it. Oh, I did print the hubcaps again for about the 4th time and got them pretty well where I want them, and fairly good print. I'm getting good at that. Diode in it. That's a hose, you idiot. It's because if you ever sat in the cab of anything with a gardener in it, you'll know that they go like this. And it cracks the radiator. Well, I have said this side. I've put soda pipe on, and I put 2 radiator pipes on. That's all I've done. And I've painted the tank. That's it. and I drilled the tap. It's an hour, so I probably put an hour on it. Anyway, I put hoses on it, right, with hose clamps on it and so forth. Don't be facetious. Not the 8-cylinder ones, the smooth ones. Yeah, but at idle, hey, your gear lever goes like this. You put your foot, and all your mirrors go like that. You put your foot down, and everything smooths out. Anyway, that's about all I've done, really. I put the gear lever. Also put the gear lever in the cab floor. That's about it. The rest has been put aside, and I've finished this, right? But can't do very much. I don't think they have to be smoky at idle, Dan. I've seen pictures on the internet and videos of people starting them up from cold and them not blowing smoke or needing aero start. I honestly believe that when they were new, they didn't blow smoke. But anyway. I've also seen them to the point that you couldn't start them up in the shed, otherwise they blow smoke. Right, I was getting to the trailer, but I forgot. I left all the stuff in the other room. Right. Right, cab's on. Anyway, the cab's starting to look like a cab. There's a bit of work left in the cab. There's a steering box. Goes here with a swivel arm that operates off this tie rod steering arm here on top. I don't know if you can see that. You can from here, I think. See that little arm sticking up. There you go. So we want this still to work. So this arm's got a pivot in the steering box. That's as far as we're going with that. We've got to put an arm in between them. So that job's got to be done. Behind there's a brake cylinder. Right, it goes here. Right. And also on the inside of the frame, there's a handbrake lever that goes back, I don't know, through one of those holes in the cross member to this lever on the back here or underneath or something, which is your handbrake lever. There's that rod going across the back. Don't know if you can see that. Probably can't. It's down below that cross member. Alright, so that's got to go in. There's also, I've left a hole in the side of the gearbox here for a rod with a rubber grommet on each end for the gear lever change. I've also left, hear me out, a hole in the back of that side there for the clutch lever. Now, I don't know where that goes yet. Right? No idea about that. So they're the systems that I'd very much like to get in place on this before we call the chassis finished. So there's a few things. So basically pedals, steering, a handbrake wire. I've still got to put a tail shaft in here too. That's all drawn up. I've just got to spend some time and actually go and print it out and stuff and paint it. The clutch is mechanical. I don't know where that clutch lever goes because the clutch is on this side and the clutch lever is on this side at the back. So it must go across underneath or something. I think there's a lever goes sort of that way along the truck, but I don't know. Will the linkages actually work? It's for show. Yeah, the pedals are way too small. So we get them in. Get it so that you put a mirror underneath it, you can see all the bits. That's all we've got to do. It's too fragile to make it work. This one will work. Red with the gold spiral on the tail shaft. Yep. A very excellent trick is a bit of tie wire and a 1/4 inch nut around someone's tail shaft. If you're looking to to interrupt someone's journey somewhere and make it a fairly slow trip with frequent stops. If you get a bit of soft iron tie wire, about 16 inches long in old money, black and white measurements, 400 millimeters, something like that long, 40 centimeters long, 0.4 of a meter. It doesn't really matter. You just cut a lop a bit off when no one's looking in the dark, and you get under it and you put it round the tail shaft. Now, there's two effects you can go with. You can either put it round the slopey bit of the tail shaft, right? And in that manner, you'll find that if it's not too much of an angle on the tail shaft, it'll only make a clack, clack, clack sound when it goes downhill. And when it's going uphill, it won't make a lot of sound at all. So that adds to the mystery. Or you can put it through one of the universal joints so that it makes a constant sound, and you put a 1/4 inch or 3/8 nut or something on it, or two, and then you tie the end of it up and bolt it over so it doesn't get hooked on anything. And then you sit back and wait for developments. That really doesn't make anyone's trip nicer, just so you know, in a rear-wheel drive car. Zip tying a wheel weight, yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying that there are things you can do with that. So I forgot in my haste to get this painted that I was going to put 4 little magnets in here to sit the turntable or fifth wheel on. Didn't happen. So we either drill it and put some studs or something in it so that it actually sits in place there. I don't know what to do about that yet. We'll look at it. We might just leave it. If we get it in the right spot, we might just leave it there. Trailer. Right, if this gets finished at some point, right, and I don't know if it will because there's a lot of work. I'm about halfway on this. Right, this is a big job. By the time we get the cab on and all the bodywork done and the windows and all those bits, there's a lot of bits this far forward. That's terrible, Dan. That's worse than a fish in a hubcap. That's miserable. Don't even get me started because I had a misspent youth, and I do remember the carcass of a recently deceased small household pet of the whiskered variety. They all got whiskers. Being put on an exhaust manifold at some point, and someone doing a lot of miles before they got under there with a stick to poke it off and couldn't poke it off on account of the... Yeah, anyway, that's not very nice. That's a terrible thing to do. I don't think the cat probably noticed. But as far as I know, they sold the car with... Anyway. So there's a lot of work in the cab forward, right? Actually, Bill, being one of those people, suggested we put LED headlights and stuff in it, and we've left provision for that in the panels for the cab, but we'll see whether that actually happens. And there's probably room in here for a battery and a battery box and a switch. Yeah, Scotch locks are a bit of a menace because you always have a crook earth after you take them off. But yeah. Anyway, if we got the cab on and a shiny coat of paint on, and there's enough work in that, and all the cab accessories like windscreen wipers and mirrors and window hinges and door handles and so forth and so on, right? I'm going to call that's probably going to be enough for the 6 months, right? If we do a bit every week. If I do this much every week, it's going to be a lot longer than that. But if we get a bit done every week, then you spend a few hours on it every week or a couple of nights. We should be able to get this done within the 6 months because we've got other stuff to do as well. Without building a trailer, but at some point, I'd like to build a Tasker drop deck low loader for it, right? Either a Linden or a Tasker or something like that, English drop deck with a single row of wheels at the back in pairs that basically undo the bolts and slide the wheels out and jack it up and slide the wheels out on rails and then lower it down with ramps so you can load it. Then all you got to do is jack it up again if you've got big enough jacks and put the wheels back in. And you've got a ramp deck, which is what they had before tilt trailers. And when men were men and had sort of 3 hours to load something. Hydraulics were a wonderful thing. Is there a replacement CAD stream? Tea and biscuits? Sorry, no. I haven't got enough space in my day and I'm not going to mess it around. So we'll go back to Tuesday next week. I've only really just got internet back last night. And I didn't know whether it was going to be stable enough to do this tonight, to be honest. And I've got stuff to do. Like there's a lot of stuff still to do to get to Shannondale this weekend. And Friday night I'm heading out, so that only leaves tomorrow night, and there's probably a car needs cleaning and some errands to do, and you've got to put the rubbish out and take the recycling, and there's a lot of stuff to do. So sorry guys, it's not going to be. I thought I saw a question from you pop up, TMB, and if I did, I'm sorry because I can't find it now. But hit us up somewhere. Maybe I was just looking in the wrong spot. I did see it slide in when I was out and about. So, anyway, I don't really have a big understanding of these little 25-ton drop deck floats because I've never seen one up close, only really in pictures. I can't ever remember actually seeing one. Back in the day, the floats that I can remember seeing before the days of Drake and so forth and so on, and even decent trailers, the floats that I can remember when I was a little kid, I didn't pay a lot of attention to. Now, I'm not sure how they worked anyway, but I've found some brochures. I went looking for some tyres. Now, the trailer has 150020s or Michelin G20s or whatever you want to call them, which is the same size basically as a U1700L Unimog, really. Quite a bit bigger than these and quite a bit wider, and there's 4 of them across the back. Got on AliExpress and ordered some, and they come today, which is pretty quick. Give me a minute. I'm going to go and get my supplies from the other room. I'll be back. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, don't talk. Don't talk too loudly because I'm back and I can hear you. What did I miss? Peter's quick too. Oh, Stuart's quick. So I've got some little tungsten carbide boring bars. These aren't as nice as the other ones I've got, but they were really cheap. So if you get a chance, order some of these. If you've got something that's really nice. These are quite a bit longer though for a start. But nice little boring bars. Solid carbide usually, so they're pretty good. Got some drills. Thought I was buying a set of these. I'm not. There you go. I bought all these drills. I think there's about 4 sizes. There's 2 sizes, I think, in that one. And probably 2 sizes in that one. And probably 2 sizes in that one. So that's 6 sizes. But anyway, they'll be useful. They're not bad little drills for stuff. They get used. These come from AliExpress and they're not really the answer, right? These are RC car tyre wheels, or RC car wheel tyres. They're too soft. Like, they're really too soft. They're supposed to be grippy compared to these, which are quite hard. So they're too wide. They're 18mm and they really only need to be scale 16mm. But to give you some idea with the trailer, we're going to put a row of these along the back. And bolt them together in 2 pairs. These are roughly the right diameter, and they fit on the same rims as these basically. So apart from that, they're just a little bit too wide. So they're probably a little bit severe in the grip as well. Like there's too much tread on them. Carbon steel and high speed. Yeah, high speed steel is definitely worth the money. Tea and biscuits, absolutely worth the money. The other thing, if you can possibly get them, gun and spiral taps are well worth the money, as opposed to straight flute caps. You'll never go back. With rims in them, they might be a bit softer and thinner, but I'd like to see them back. I mean, they've got a rubber insert in them like all RC car tyres, but there's no support at all if you take that out. They're really soft. So I'm not sure I'm happy about that, but they give you some idea. This is going to have a bit more gap than that in here, but it's only going to be a little short trailer. And these were generally with a socket out the front, and they were on pairs. And the axles were short axles with pairs to carry the weight. And they slide into a socket when you jack the trailer up and lock in place. And then you wheel these out of the way and your trailer's down on the ground, and you put 2 ramps in place so you can load anything on it, and you pull your ramps off, jack it up and put them back in, and you're back where you started. But you need a couple of 30-ton jacks. But anyway, that's it. It needs a load. We're not even going to go there. There's 1,000 options, like 1,000 options of a load for this trailer. Right, this thing will carry 15 ton comfortably. with this back end in this truck. So 15 tonne wouldn't be out of place. Little Jake's J15 dragline excavator would be very nice, or a RB10 basically. Dragline excavator would be very nice on it if I really wanted to do something like that, but that's 2 years down the track. We'll get this prime mover going first and on the shelf before we even think about anything else any of this. I haven't really done any CAD work, no nothing. Could put tractor on it, could put bulldozer, little cat. Whole 10 tonne or something like that would be nice on it. TD15, something like that, International, or Alice. Something like that would be nice. There's 1,000 options. You put a steamroller on the back of it to carry a steamroller easy. But anyway, let's get the truck finished. The load's years down the track. I might find a proper commercial kit that I like and pick that up and do that just as a proper kit. This is all super glued together because there's some issues with 3D printing a model like this, and this is really nice and it comes up nice and all the bits go together nicely and you can fit quite a bit of detail in it. But because it's 3D printed, it's printed in PLA, which is a thermoplastic, and that's all right. You get good detail, you get good prints, you get nice flat prints, you got good finish, you got everything works. However, nothing sticks it, nothing bonds it. There's no chemical bond, so you've got to super glue everything, and that's a lot of pain. So going forward, I'd like to find a way, if I was going to continue with this madness, and I may not, like I honestly may not, I would like to find a way that I don't have to use super glue because it's a pain in the royal pain in the ass, to be honest. Not a big fan. Anyway, so that's that. There's lots of little bits to go on it, and they're all time consuming, and if we get all that done, then we can start thinking about the cab a bit more seriously. But at this point, if we lift this off, we can turn it upside down. And it gives us some idea of what's involved. It's the diff, the air tanks, brake lever, gearbox, engine, muffler, battery and fuel tank hangers,